a good song.
Yeah, so we will create songs to each items, what we are doing, and next time we are going to present it in that way. Go into the development update and everybody needs to sing it.
No.
Gotta entertain, you know. All right, hello everybody, welcome. It's on. Welcome everybody to the development update. Yeah, so the problem is that I'm hearing myself back.
That's not good.
That is not good.
We put our signatures and only God can validate them.
We're live right now, Ivan.
Yes, exactly.
I started.
Very good. All right, thank you. Thanks everybody for joining to the development update. We have the core team and the platform teams today, and we are going to tell you a little bit about, hopefully have a conversation as well, a little bit about the advancements of the past 2 weeks. As always, feel free to raise your questions in the live chat below, or if you have any comments, let us know as well. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the very end of this session, and hopefully we can wrap it up in an hour. All right, so the next task for me to find the window I want to share, it's not going to be easy. So if Sam, you can take over while I'm trying to find out my slideshow.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
I really appreciate it.
I can do that. How do I do that?
If you could start with a summary of this sprint, like how was the vibe? The vibe of this sprint, a little summary, 1 minute summary about that.
Sure, but what about the actual slides? Do you want me to present those as well?
No, I can do that.
I'll do it.
Just give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Oh, okay. I'll do it if you can. Yes, so this sprint was on the heels of the previous sprint, which was very focused on our focus. This sprint was to get things working for the mobile clients to basically use DashPay again, right? So this is more of a later type story. So it's really trying to find what's wrong right now, what do we need to fix, and at the same time we have some other more complex tasks that other team members are doing, right? So it was kind of the sprint was less together and more like different people on different tasks than other sprints.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. Very good sprint summary.
Yeah.
So shall we start and jump in and pass it to Ivan?
Thank you. Could you please change the slide? Yeah. One of those tasks what needs to be completed to make the whole thing works is the validation of asset log transactions. I want to remind you that we use asset logs to log Dash on the payment chain and fund identity this platform creates on the platform chain. So we use it to create an identity or top up identity. and we have two types of the proofs that this asset lock actually was committed to the payment chain. The first type is the instant asset lock proof, and we use instant lock functionality for them. So this works pretty quickly. But sometimes instant locks are not might not functioning properly in some specific areas, some edge cases. And in this case, we have chain asset lock proof fallback. So in case of chain asset lock proof fallback, you need to wait until transaction mined in the block, and then provide the height with this transaction. So in this task, we revisit our validation logic in Drive for these types of proofs, implemented verification of the signature for the instant proof. We fixed the logic of the chain proof validation, and yeah, this task in review currently. Actually, submitted just 15 minutes ago. The next one is preliminary work for the asset lock validation. It's basically to add functionality to the Drive to be able to verify instant locks, the signatures with the core RPC. Next task is also related to reliability issues. As you remember, last sprint we made our test suite passing, but we have a couple flaky issues. Didn't allow all tests pass completely all the time. It's very annoying because you need to sometimes to restart the test and wait until all of them passed again. So this one was one of the reliability issues. So Drive, before Drive start the EBCI connection, so I mean saying to Tenderdash that I'm ready to connect and process the blocks, Drive makes sure that the local instance of the core is properly synced and ready to work. Yep, and the next one is chain lock signature verification. It's also a preliminary task for the asset lock validation, the same to make Drive be able to verify chain lock signatures with core RPC. So in Ares Drive EBCI, now we're heavily using the core RPC, and sometimes some edge cases happen when, for example, core is restarting or it's not started yet, or it's an initial block download phase. So the Drive is RPC client should handle all this situation and retry if it's the type of error when core is not ready but will be ready soon, and differentiate with the actual input errors. For example, if we pass the transaction ID which is not exist, or I know or signature is not valid. Yeah, and the last one, what I would love to describe is the CI/CD caching. Our infrastructure team continue to work on this topic. As I heard today, we can.
Ivan, you need to say what CI and CD are. The general people here won't even know what that means.
Oh, yes. I thought it's just like two letters. Two nice letters. Yeah. So
Continuous
CI.
You're assuming that we are no. We know what CI/CD is.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me check. Yeah. Google. What's that? So CI is the continuous integration, and CD, it means like continuous delivery. This is the we'll be mentioning these two things pretty often. And actually, it's our guards to help us to verify that the code what we're pushing to our repository is correct. So we have multiple checks in GitHub Actions, and when we push the new code, the continuous integration workflows, they run all these checks against the new code and showing what's wrong or not wrong was good with the new code what we pushed. And continuous delivery, it's more about releasing new packages. So when we're doing release, we put a tag, and continuous delivery system release the npm packages and creates Rust and Docker images and push them to registry, so we can use them, and other developers, other users can use the release in different places. And the caching is actually the way how you optimize the run of the continuous integration, because this become a bottleneck. When you push the code, you need to wait and until it's done, until it passes before you can merge it. And this is a point of annoyance for developers usually, because if it's slow, it slows down your development process and integration process. So that's why the caching is important. So we can basically reduce the development time and makes developers happier. And we continue to work on this. We made a pretty good progress, and I hope next spring, together with infrastructure team, we'll be able to accomplish this this part. Right now, actually, our CI takes about 15 minutes usually, so we'll see how it will work when we finish this work. Yeah, thank you, Kostya. Not only Kostya, Javid.
Javid.
Would you like to proceed?
Yay, sure. Hello, everyone. So two things here. First of all is Dashmate end-to-end tests. I'm happy to say that the code base is done and it passes the review stage. So we had a few comments for the PR, which are fixed. And one of those comments was to add a few more test cases, which are currently not passing on my local machine. So I'm investigating if it's the bug in the Dashmate or something within the tests. So potentially we can solve some more problems that we found with these tests. And after that, it's probably going to be merged, and yay, we will be having proper testing for Dashmate from the user perspective. And the second one is ABC errors, which we need to implement as we had them before, but in Rust now. It's almost done, but I've switched my focus to Dashmate end-to-end test for now. And once this is done, I will finalize the BCI as well. So hopefully it will be soon, the next day, probably. And that's it. Who should go next?
We will go next with Anton.
Yep. Hey guys, Anton's here. So earlier this sprint, we've merged the data contract mutability thing. This is kind of an umbrella term for, I've actually talked a little bit about it on the previous review as well, because that was the in progress task back then. So early this sprint, we finished it. And what the data contract mutability refers to is that when you create in a data contract, you can configure your data contract to keep the history. For example, you can set up fields to keep it read-only, so you can't update the document schema inside them. You can set default mutability for documents and things of that nature. So this pull request we've merged earlier this sprint, and then I moved on doing a different thing, is to create endpoints for data contract history and according changes in DAPI client SDK, so the whole stack can benefit from this new functionality we've done earlier. There was missing validations for this. I've got a lot of validations, a lot of tests, new endpoints to DAPI, new logic to SDK that handles those. And now you will be able to fetch data contract history. So there is still one small unresolved issue when it comes to data contract, the history endpoint, but it's a really minor one. So this is currently in review, and we're gonna merge it hopefully tomorrow. So then I've also, in the meantime, while the CI Ivan mentioned before we're running, I was busy with change quorums when low health. We actually already had some logic regarding to this in our old implementation, and Sam also made some changes to accommodate some, well, to, how do I say this? Well, basically, when quorum can have a low health. Low health means that quorum is on the brink of, I wouldn't say failing, but we are not really sure that the quorum can process blocks properly if a lot of nodes gets banned or disconnected or something like that. And normally, under normal circumstances, that shouldn't be a big problem. But what we want to do, we want to rotate from the quorums we determined have low health, so we don't expose us to potential risks when the quorum that's in charge of producing blocks doesn't have enough participants in it. We kind of want to prevent this situation proactively. So that is what this is about. All right, I think for my part, that would be it. So giving word back to Balázs.
Question, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
So
right.
hi guys. So let's go to the next. Update protocol to use either proofs for direct result, but not both. This one is about, let's say, gRPC schema that we use inside. So we change it in the way that now we can use either proofs or data, not both at the same time. New identity credits transfer transition. We've implemented new type of state transition, which is called credit transfer. So before we could either top up identity, either withdraw our credits, I mean, from core to platform and vice versa. And with this type of state transition, we can transfer funds between identities inside of the platform. And the next one is just a test in platform test suite that shows us that everything works as it should work. And the next one looks pretty complex, but in fact, it's pretty simple. It means that for now, possible to run Dashmate from different users in one computer, since before it could lead to some errors due some, let's say, Docker-related issues. Now we changed it a little bit, so now you can run it from different users and everything should be fine. I guess that's it from my side.
Yeah, thank you. Igor, would you continue, please?
Thank you. So this sprint, I've been working aside from working on some issues with the platform test suite. I've been working on TypeScript definitions in SDK. This was quite old problem where when you were using SDK in the TypeScript environment, TypeScript compilation wouldn't work in certain cases. And it actually dragged alongside with the issues in the SDK itself. It dragged issues from WalletLib and Dashcore-lib. So we fixed TypeScript definitions and exports in all three, added TypeScript tests. So right now the compilation should pass. At least the default usage, default scenarios. There still could be some inconsistencies in the WalletLib types because it's actually a JavaScript which uses manually written TypeScript definitions on top of it. So yeah, there could be some inconsistencies, but not substantial. So this thing is done, and it's in the current v24. We'll also backport it to v25 quickly. So yeah, second thing is the asset lock transactions. Prior to core v20, we were basically for testing testing purposes, we were just not for testing, it's not the right term. Just for the sake of things working on testnet and devnets, we were actually burning coins in layer 1 in order to translate them to credits on a platform. And since now asset lock transactions actually implemented in core v20, we can now implement real asset lock transactions in SDK so that they can be withdrawn from the platform credits back to the layer 1 dash. So this task is in progress. And yeah, please, Balázs, can you switch to the next slide? Okay. So
yeah, thank you very much. So Dima is going next.
Yeah.
Thanks, Igor.
Hi everyone. Well, I'm Dmitry. Well, on my sprint, I have worked on investigation state sync implementation. This is the first thing which I do. Well, TenderDash basically has two strategies how to sync the blockchain. So the first is block synchronization. Is straightforward thing that we can just download block by block and put it in our blockchain internally. So, and second option is state synchronization. This is completely different to the block sync. So the difference is instead of fetching block by block, we can download the snapshot of database, and after that just apply it like a dump. Well, apply it on our blockchain and do some kind of the internal things in order to verify data and other stuff. So, and in order to support it on Drive side, on our side, on platform side, we started to investigate how to do it. And the goal of this document is, we hope that the document should be converted into the specification which we have to apply for implementation. So this is the first step of implementation of StateSync. Second one is stabilization of Ras-Dashcore libraries. So we some time ago we backported new changes from our upstream. Our upstream as Bitcoin Rust libraries, and we finally stabilized that libraries. And currently we are working on adopting the platform code base which written in Rust to use those libraries. So And this is last item in this list. So I mean, third from the top. So prepared platform to the new version. Yeah, who should be next?
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
So the next two were not done by me, but I'm presenting them for Lukasz. The first one is drive graceful shot. Oh, you're here.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here,
yeah,
so
yes.
I can go myself.
Sorry.
So yeah, so thanks, Sam, but yeah, I made it. So first of all, we can do the drive. I did the drive graceful shutdown, which is in progress. So the goal here is to be able to shut down drive ABCI server that is like working with TenderDash to process information, and is very important element of our system. However, right now there is no way to shut it down. You can just kill it without like closing all the resources correctly and risking some inconsistent data state due to like brutal kill. And this task involves support for some signals that can be sent to drive to shut it down, and some asynchronous processing to introduce places where drive can be interrupted and shut down. So it's quite complex in terms of parallel execution of multiple threads, but we're still trying to stay single-threaded in drive, and that's some, let me call it, adapters between asynchronous code that will be able to get these signals and initiate shutdown, and the synchronous code inside drive. So it's basically quite a complex topic, and I'm still working on that. And second thing I did was verification of proof signatures in strategy tests. So we have a bunch of strategy tests that do various scenarios our platform should execute, but we didn't have proof signature verification there. I added a capability to do that, and this can be implemented in other tests. For now, it was implemented by me in one of the tests where it was needed, but yeah, it's quite easy to populate to other tests if needed. And it also includes our library, the RS TenderDash ABCI, which added some improvements or made it a bit easier to verify proof signatures in light clients, and users or developers will be able also to use that feature for easier verification of signatures. And that's it on my side.
Now,
Thanks,
Sam.
Lukasz. Yeah,
you very
now
much,
it's my
Lukasz.
turn. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, so core reward distribution. This is something that I brought up 2 weeks ago. Core reward distribution is one of those big ticket items that we have had to do for a very long time. It basically is the block subsidy that happens in core. So every single time there's a block in core, some goes to the master nodes, some go to the miner, and some goes to the treasury in a delayed fashion, right? The core reward distribution has the amount going. This was, what was voted on, one of the parts that was voted on, the amount going to master nodes lowered on one side and raised on another, basically, so that in the end, the master nodes would receive the same amount, but through platform, through Evo nodes, through the equilibrium mechanism. So one part of that is the actual, this is the actual distribution in platform, and that is now done. So that is a big thing, and it's nice to have that check mark. It was almost, actually, it was close to being done 2 weeks ago, but it was, I think, merged maybe 12 days ago, maybe on Thursday. Anyways, so the next one is remove banned Evo nodes from validator set and reinstate unbanned Evo nodes into validator set. So basically, we didn't 100% need this in the sense that if we had, so right now what happens is, let's imagine that a node goes offline. They're still part of the quorum. They're still going to be hit as a proposer, and then they're going to time out. Without doing this work, what would actually happen is, let's say one node is offline. That means that 1 out of 100 for the quorum, 1% of time, there would be a 30-second delay in the block processing in platform. This would actually give a pretty bad user experience, I think, for people. So since this wasn't that big of a task, it's not very small, but it wasn't like crazy big, we decided to put it in. Basically, if core bans an Evo node for not being online, it will be removed from the validator set immediately. If, for example, that node basically comes back online with a pro upsurf TX, which is a transaction in core that basically says, wait, I'm actually here. There was a problem with my node, but I got it all fixed. I restarted it. Then it will also re-enter the validator set. This should give a better user experience for end users. Let's continue. Yeah, there's also the situation where somebody actually spends their Evo node, meaning they move the 4,000 dash collateral, in which case that Evo node actually can never come back online in the set. So you just basically permanently remove them. And then there's also a different case. It's kind of in the same vein. These all were changes coming from core. Well, it was basically if the IP changes with a pro upsurf TX, or the IP or port, if they change through the core mechanism, that we basically automatically change the validator set to point to the right node without people losing their place in the payment queue, without mass nodes having any issues at all. So it was pretty nice to have those 4 things merged in. Yeah. The next one is kind of, no, we're not
sorry.
done. We're on versioning, and this is kind of a pain point. Versioning is probably in my, well, of course, I'm working on it, so I have a different view than maybe other people, but I think it probably is the biggest thing we have left as like one big item, and it's very complex because you can have things like serialized versions and code versions, and protocol versions. And right now we have a document that explains how our versioning works. I'm just implementing it as we speak. It's just, there's still a lot of work, and it's not close to being done, but it's also more than 50%. So the real, this is also kind of blocking a lot of other tasks, which is very painful. So basically right now, I'm trying my best to focus as much as of my time on getting this done so we can unblock other parts of the project. Yes. Let me continue with the next one, which is also mine. Double process proposal. This is just an issue that I fixed quickly because I saw it. Basically, if you could have a tender dash crash in a certain way where a block had already been processed by Drive ABCI, then if tender dash crashed and reopened, it would be like, oh, I have to process this block. And it would send it to Drive ABCI, and Drive ABCI would basically say, wait, you already sent this. Why are you sending it again? You're bad. And then it would basically just send back to tender dash, no, you're not supposed to send it to me again. And it would go back and forth endlessly and basically break. So this is now dealt with. If there is a the same block sent twice to Drive, it handles it. It just basically says back to tender dash, okay, that's fine. It's the same one as I've already seen. The next two, I'm not sure who takes this. Does anybody?
That's me.
Yeah,
Igor.
that's me.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Those are two extra fixes that were applied to Dashmate and deployment tool. First one is about invalid serialization of the JSON response from core RPC, and actually it appeared as a side effect of the drive, which was not waiting for core to synchronize before proceeding. And basically the situation was as following: Dashmate was starting. It started actually, and if you immediately send any requests, it might not process them because core RPC still would need to pick up. Still need some time to start. And it resulted in invalid JSON serialization. It's a minor issue that was fixed in DAPI client. And a second thing is about the deployment tool. And basically the problem was with the access of the user and operating system to the core log. And it was fixed as well. So now the restarts are handled, restarts of the dash D are handled in deployment tool properly as well. Yeah, this is it.
Thank you very much, Igor. So let's see some
Yeah,
update on
so
the.
yeah, I'll give an update on the deployment. So we still on deployment 9, and the reason why is that it hasn't had any issues. And it hasn't had any issues. Why? Well, because we're not doing all the edge cases on it. So it really has ran flawlessly because nobody is trying to attack it. In the same time, as you've seen today in today's sprint review, we have a lot of people working on the edge cases, working on issues that are not common because we see that they can happen. You know, we're looking through the code and we're being like, oh, okay, yeah. So if there's something that happens twice here, it will break. We don't want to release platform and the first developer who looks at the code be like, oh, there's like, as an analogy, right? When miners went to the Yukon and there was gold all over the place, right? We don't want like bugs all over the place that are easily exploitable. Yeah, so but still, this DevNet is running, ran flawlessly for 2 weeks. The epoch change happens every 18 days or so, and the epoch change is going to happen in 2 days. So even though we're kind of ready for deployment 10 with a lot of the fixes that we've decided to keep this running for another 2 days to hit that epoch, to have that test and see what happens. This is going to be the time where the master nodes present in the Evo nodes present in the DevNet are going to get paid for their work on the DevNet. So, you know, it will give a lot of information, and I'll update people to tell them if, hey, did the distribution happen properly? Or did it not? And did we learn something? So that's a very interesting event, and I wish it had happened before this development update, but no, it's 18 days, and we had launched the DevNet about 16 days ago. Yeah, so when oh, people on the when Evo, this is not great. So when we look to see what is left, we're having the basic problem is that a lot of stuff is blocked on versioning. Before versioning can be, like, if versioning can't be finished, a lot of the other stuff can't either. That's really the case for data contract bounds, finalization of withdrawals, and fee cost tweaking, which are the big things. Again, as I said, with the parentheses, not parentheses, the asterisk means that it's mostly done, but it can't be finished. Data contract bounds, for example, it's mostly done. It can't be finished until versioning is done. Finalization of withdrawals, it cannot be finished until versioning is done. So masternode voting is something that can be worked on without versioning done, and it is planned, and it is being, I mean, it just was started as far as I understand, like barely any work, maybe, or either just started or it's been, somebody worked on it for an hour so far. So the point here is that we can do most of Masternode voting without versioning. So we're going to try our best. And then fee cost tweaking is something at the very end. Just-in-time atomic state transition payments. I've been talking about this multiple weeks. This is something that probably will do post mainnet. State sync was talked about today. This is a large thing that's expected post mainnet. The reason why we had some discussions about it this week is that we have to make sure that we can do state sync in our current system. And that was the real part of this work. And from what it looks like, we don't have the work that makes it really complicated is not actually in platform, but it is in GroveDB. So GroveDB does need modifications as far as we're currently looking for state sync to work. And we're going to give an update in 2 weeks. We're going to bring GroveDB back in and explain the updates in GroveDB in 2 weeks from now. So that's that. Let's go on to the core team.
Ori, would you kick us off?
Hello, guys. So, what is the plan for the core team? Quick reminder that we had a chain stall once we released V19. I mean, when V19 was activated. So I think it was 2 weeks ago. So quick reminder what happened. So the V19 activation changes the BLS scheme used in core. And the only change affected by this is the way how we serialize BLS objects. So either public keys or BLS signatures. And so what happened, it was the nodes were unable to construct internally masternode lists from the past. So if this is very briefly, if you are interested to understand more about this, I strongly suggest you to review the previous video where I spent more time on this. So very roughly, proposed solution would be to store inside the deterministic masternode state, so the state of a masternode, the version of the ProTX with which was used for registration. So very simply, a masternode registered before the V19 fork will have a version equals to legacy, and after the fork, it will have another masternode will be constructed with a new version. So we store the version of the masternodes from the time they were constructed or registered, and we use the same information to unserialize their public key operator whenever we need to do this. So to construct the masternode lists in the past, we use the same logic. So the PR list change is the one numbered 5403. Again, if you're interested, please go and have a look. We have some additional changes as well in the V19.2. So because we added a new field in the deterministic masternode state, so the one I just mentioned, there's a small, again, EvoDB migration from 19.1. That means that you cannot, if you upgrade to 19.2, then you're unable to downgrade to 19.1 without re-indexing. Same for going back to V18 from 19.2. Another big change this time is, since we now follow the logic from the PR 5403, so we apply the same logic as well in the way we calculate the Coinbase Merkle Root mastnode list. So again, here we serialize the public key operators of mastnodes depending on when they were registered. So this PR is 5397. A small note about this. This will help a lot the mobile clients with the transition to the new code base for the BLS scheme. So now they have more information on, okay, when to use legacy and when to use basic. So okay, we had a huge bug, but at least now we can help a bit more the mobile clients. And the ones who are truly interested to see more PRs, I have a very short list of the biggest and more reported fixed PRs that are about to be shipped in V19.2. So we are expecting RC1 today. And so we have a plan to test this on testnet. So please, Balázs, could you go to the next slide? So first thing to know, because Coinbase Merkle Root calculation is changing, so we have a breaking change. Okay, small detail, but this is no longer valid. The first point, we will not downgrade all nodes to 18.2.2. So instead, we're gonna try to go like mainnet. So we will instead upgrade all nodes to 19.1, and then upgrade all mastnodes to RC1, 19.2.RC1. So then we're gonna try to simulate as possible mainnet. So we're gonna implement a small automation of ProTX diffs RPCs on 80% of nodes, and we're gonna try to bombard with RPCs of ProTX diffs with random valid heights. So this way we will try to trigger mastnode lists caching validation as much as possible. And so this basically mimics what the SPV clients are doing to the core nodes. And we want to do this before the fork and keep doing this after the new V19 fork. And just before the upgrade of the miner, we want to cover all the ProTX scenarios possible. So registration of UMass node, changing of public key operator service as well. And then we're gonna try to remove mastnodes with all the possible ways. So the revoke, the collateral spending, and the collateral reuse. This is a specific case. Collateral reuse is when you try to register a new mastnode using existing collateral. So this, removes the previous one and register a new masternode with the same collateral. And then, so we're gonna upgrade the miner. So this will start signaling for the fork. So for testnet and for V19, the BIP9 activation window is 100 blocks, and so we need at least 2 windows. So we are speaking about roughly 200 blocks before the fork activates. So roughly between 9 or 12 hours. And then we basically want to make sure that everything continues, the chain lock, instant send, new quorums are forming, all this while we keep continuing requesting ProTX diffs with random heights. So basically this is the plan for tomorrow before releasing the official 19.2. So Basta, could you talk about V20?
Yeah. So even while we've been figuring out this V19 set of issues and figuring out how we're going to test this upgrade cycle better, we've been continuing working on V20 feature work. Kitty Whiskers and Constantine have primarily continued to work on V20 features once the network was stabilized. And we had a very large list of pull requests completed in the last 2 weeks, actually. There was a lot of good changes to GUIX. We're making really solid progress there. EHF has continued to being worked on and has made progress. We're making good progress on V20, even while OD Eugene and I primarily are focused on version 19 and figuring out this testing procedure, and then implementing this testing procedure today, tomorrow, and hopefully V19.2, if all goes well, should get released on Thursday, maybe Friday. We'll have to talk about that. We don't like doing releases on Friday, so we might wait till Monday at that point. But hopefully, if this testing goes well and we don't really find any other issues, we should be able to release 19.2 this Thursday. But we'll continue to communicate on that and see if we have any other issues. But yeah, that's the gist of what's going on with V20 and our timeline. So I think we're good to move on to questions.
Let's move on to questions. So, Yavi, Javi, do you know CrowdNode to stake your Dash? I have no idea what you are referring. So if you could
It's not a
please...
question. It's probably a rhetorical question for somebody else who posted something.
All right. Guys, you need to include sarcasm or fun, some explanations. Yeah, or we need to find a label. Questions for the Q&A. Hello, Dashmates. Yeah, do you want to answer? Or
yeah, well, the first one was when Evo node, and I think that we should just answer that before we start. And there was also when HPMN, and
okay.
I'll let Pasta, could you answer that? I believe it's the 6th of July is the current activation.
Yes. I'm pretty sure, I don't have it right in front of me, but if I'm remembering correctly, it is the 6th of July is when the version 19 hard fork will actually activate. So that's about 2.5, 3 weeks from now.
Yes.
All righty. So if possible, please mention your opinion about delisting Dash from popular platforms such as Binance. Problems with SEC. Is it possible to switch off private send totally? So, okay, like it's through 3 topics. So, yeah, do you want to take it?
I mean, I'll take it, but I won't. I mean, I'll do my best. Please mention your opinion about delisting Dash from popular platforms such as Binance. So we weren't delisted from Binance. We were delisted from a few countries in Binance for in Europe, and it was, as far as I understand, because of regulations from those countries due to Dash being considered a privacy coin, and all the other privacy coins or things that were considered a privacy coin absent Litecoin for some reason were delisted. So that's
yeah. So what we can share about it is that what Ernesto mentioned in the Discord is that we reached out to Binance and put together our argument, but we haven't heard back since, I think it was in last week when Ernesto sent the information arguing for the relisting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't get into problems with the SEC because yeah, this is a development update, and that shouldn't be here. And then, is it possible to switch off private send totally? Yes, but once again, DCG is just the vehicle of development for the network. So if the network were to vote and say, let's turn off private send, DCG would do it. If the network were to vote in a different direction, as long as whatever that direction is legal and doable, DCG will do it. So, we don't take unilateral action on such things.
I think it is also valuable to point out that in order to disable private send, you would need you would need masternodes and miners to decide that they won't accept blocks that have CoinJoin transactions in them. It would basically be a hard fork of the network in order to disable private send or CoinJoin as it operates on the network.
Yeah, I mean, even if DCG were to release a version with those features not enabled, we don't have the power to enforce it. It's up to the network to run that version. So I think that it's not always so clear, but trying to make it as clear as possible that we can write code if the network wants it, but we can't change the system without the network changing it. Okay, so next question.
So data contracts mutability is not like document update where you can change things, or where I can make a field permanent. Is that what you mean by read only? I guess it was Anton's.
I'll take it very quickly.
Yeah.
Just I'll go through these faster. Data contract mutability is the ability to actually modify the data contract itself. So let's imagine you create a data contract for a specific use case, and you want to say this data contract will never change. It's immutable. There's never going to be a possibility that the owner can change it. Some data contracts you want to be that way. Some data contracts you want to be updatable. And yeah, that's what it means by read only. We also have the ability to make document types read only. And in that case, they can't be modified. So it's not exactly the same thing, but the functionality that you brought up also exists. And it really allows for using the data contract for multiple different use cases. Sometimes, for example, in DashPay, right, when you make a contact request, it's immutable. Once the contract request has happened, you can never change the contact request, because changing the contact request would potentially allow for loss of exchange information that could make somebody lose their funds, right? So you have like all these different, so yes, just so people are clear, can't lose your funds because can't update this document type, this document. So yeah, basically just our goal is to give developers both use cases. If you want to make things mutable, you can. If you want to make things immutable, you can. And yeah. Next thing. So for health.
For health, we will negate some nodes whom we suspect are not healthy. I don't get that. If it sounds iffy.
No. So
sounds like an attack vector.
Yeah, so no, that's not it. A quorum is basically for a quorum to work, it needs 67 out of 100 nodes in the quorum working. And let's imagine that through core or through other mechanisms, we find out that, oh, this quorum is started, it does not have like it's going down. It's like it's at 70 nodes working instead of 75 nodes or some, it just is not doing very well. For some reason, maybe it was attacked. Theoretically, the majority of the network would be quite on par. So for example, if there was one quorum at 70, let's imagine that that's the worst quorum, probably the best quorum would be at 75. Now, this is only kind of a hypothetical scenario in the sense that most likely the quorums will always have, 95 to 100% nodes that are reachable. But just in the case that they don't, and if we get pretty low, meaning like we're at 70, one quorum has 70 nodes, instead of waiting for the chain to halt, because that's really what will happen, the chain will halt. There is no recovery from this. We just say, okay, the nodes that are the quorums that are really low, don't take those and take new quorums, and take quorums that are in higher health. Generally, the low health quorums, since the quorums are lasting for a full day, will be replaced by newer quorums that were maybe generated just an hour ago and that maybe have fixed whatever attack is going on the network. Okay.
Okay.
Next
when Richard
one.
Hart, CEO of Dash. I guess it's a joke, but
yeah.
What is data contract bounds?
So data contract bounds allow for contracts to put specific information on an identity. So a contract can basically say that it uses encryption, an encryption key for the identity. And for example, the identity will have a special encryption, decryption key made that is registered just for that contract. And why is this important? Well, if you don't do it this way, people will reuse encryption and decryption keys with multiple contracts across multiple apps. And doing that will cause, through developer error, most likely, people to reuse keys between highly sensitive information and not highly sensitive information, meaning that an app developer of one app might get hacked, and that app does not hold any highly sensitive information, but the other app does. And so this is basically pretty much protecting against developer error. It also has another high benefit. The high benefit is that you'll be able to query for a specific contract multiple encryption and decryption, multiple decryption keys actually, from all your contact requests in one go, from the identities that you care about, with all identity information that you care about, making DashPay requests much, much cheaper than they currently are. So it has it's gonna basically kill two birds with one stone. And yeah, so it's also mostly written already. So it's not, even though, like, you know, it isn't essential, the fact that it's not going to be a more than a 1 or 2 day affair. So the benefits of it in terms of security and usefulness far outweigh the downsides. Let's see.
We have, how about some YouTube perks? But I don't know what James is referring to. When RC1 Evo?
When RC1 Evo? Now that's a very good question. We need to get versioning done, as I said earlier. Versioning will unblock everything. Right now, we're in a situation where, and it's kind of painful to see. It wasn't presented as well during the topics, but we have a few select tasks that are extremely hard to do. They can only be done by a few individuals, and they are kind of blocking the progress to RC1. That's why we're doing other things that were not originally in RC1, like that are great things to have, like data. We did credit transfer, right? That was not actually supposed to be in RC1. But the reason why we're doing that is because, well, it's better for people to be productive and do something that is useful for, you know, instead of trying to do something that, you know, would be very hard for them, not because they're not good developers, but because, you know, if somebody's been working on one part of the code for a very, very long time, they're going to be a lot better at that part of the code. So yeah, so in this situation, we're basically a little stuck on just a few things, and getting versioning done will really unblock all the rest, in my opinion. So getting versioning done will, you know, then it's just the, let's see, what else was there? The data contract bounds, but again, easy stuff to finish up. So, you know, I don't really like giving dates anymore because that's really not gone very well, has it? But as soon as versioning is merged in, I will let the community know. And yeah, then we can look at the stuff that's remaining. And yeah, what is a kind of good through all of this is that because, you know, we don't have an abundance of tasks for many people, they're taking all the cleanup that, you know, they're making the system more secure. They're making the system. This was actually originally supposed to happen in the testing phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were going to go into the testing phase, not really knowing what, I mean, there were issues, right? But now we're actually actively looking. So we could kind of say that, you know, it's not so far off that we are in the testing phase for certain individuals. We're going through the code. We're trying to find errors. We're trying to find ways to break it. But that's not for everybody. Like at the same time, other people are working on the blocked parts. I hope that's, I'm sure that's not the answer that everybody wants to hear, but that is the answer that is reality.
What is required for all of Dash special features, usernames, mixing, to be offered on all official Dash products?
what is required for all special features username mixing to be offered on all official Dash products? So
official Dash
that's
products,
that's not
usernames, wallet. Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're having connectivity issues, but very quickly. So it's not easy to answer that question because it grows over many things. So I'll first talk about mixing, and then I'll go on to usernames. So for mixing, we currently have it in the core wallet, and I'm guessing you're asking what would be needed for the mobile wallet. I also don't really want to step on Brian's toes here. Brian is our head of product, and I believe that he can answer best what would be needed for mixing in the mobile wallets. We do have, so to register for platform, we do have the CoinJoin implementation currently, I believe, done, but I'm not 100%. I don't know if it's 100% done in Android. And we basically, there's a big issue in terms of privacy when you register an identity. You do not want your UTXO list from your mobile wallet to be associated with your identity that you have in platform. And you don't want this because it basically doxes you. Doxes you, that's the word, sorry. So yeah, so we have CoinJoin implemented for that reason. I believe, I'll let Brian maybe take that if he wants to answer, or Brian, if you're listening right now, join the call and you can answer. If not, maybe post an answer on the Discord. So for usernames, the second question is why don't we have usernames? So we're going to have usernames in all mobile apps in the SPV APIs. I'm guessing the question is why no usernames in core? And the reason there is because we have no library in C++ for core that can interact with platform at the moment. It can potentially be done in Rust. There's a lot of work involved here to get it, and the core team is very, very busy at the moment with just features for 19.2, verifying that release goes well, features for V20 that are needed for platform to work. My feeling is that they will, usernames will come to the core full node wallet eventually, but it's really a question of capacity as far as I understand. Pasta, would you like to add anything to what I just said?
I don't think so. It is something that we've talked about, and I think especially as the platform team has more and more embraced Rust, it becomes more and more likely that it will be easier to implement username features into core, but at this point, it is not strictly a priority. It will definitely be a post version 20 task to look at and evaluate. So it is on our radar. Long term, I think it is something that we want to be in the product, but it's just figuring out when we can implement it.
All right. Okay, shall we just answer rapidly the next few questions, because we've got a few more questions left. So this one is for core team. So 19.2 is released to testnet today, not main, and current 19.1 is set to fork July the 6th. This means we need 19.2 before that date, and a majority amends updated to 19.2 by then, right?
Yes, that is correct. Our current plan is, if this testing goes well, our current plan is to release 19.2 on Thursday, as I mentioned earlier. And we'll provide further updates if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, maybe Pasta, would you be able to share the result of the testing today in Discord as well? Just
Yeah, so
people
today just
who-
begins the testing. The majority of the testing will happen tomorrow. Today is mostly setup, getting stuff on some of the right versions, getting some scripts set up. And then tomorrow we'll see kind of the fruit of that testing.
Okay, well, how about give an update tomorrow then?
Yeah.
That's great.
Idoki. So when AutoGPT DCG CEO?
What?
When Auto GPT DCG CEO? It's already happening. So next question.
I mean,
this was a
yes.
fun question. Yeah. Yeah.
So, CMDR, Skull Crush, when GPT-6 comes out. At that
Exactly.
point, I think we should all be ruled by highly intelligent AI. I want to make, since this is recorded, and since
we very much appreciate that AI intelligence.
Yes, I am very willing to subjugate myself to you, AI, future AI.
All right. We ran out of time. So last question from me. When Evo progress is blocked by only a select few people being able to do it, what other good stuff can everyone else work on in the meantime? I think we almost answered this, so stability and starting the testing phase item. So that's the others can work on.
Yeah, that's.
Do you want to add anything?
No. It's we try to find the highest value tasks that get us to release as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And currently there are still things. They were just supposed to be in the next phase, right? So try to fix this, try to make a test for this. You know, you see it a lot in the development update today, a lot of fixes. And we've been kind of going down that for some time. Now, once versioning is done, I believe that a lot of people will be able to contribute again for the last final push, which is really not that much. But yeah, versioning is done, needs to happen as soon as possible. I want just to reinforce that. So I will let people know. I'll show that PR in Discord as soon as it's completed. And just so people know why versioning is important, well, there's no good to release a product if you can never upgrade it. And upgrading a decentralized product is very hard unless prior work has been done to it.
Yeah, thank you very much. If I have an SDK issue like a query problem, who should I talk to about SDK and what is best approach? Like have code available to reproduce issue? Yes, probably best approach. Do you want to take it? So I'm a little bit confused because, you know, as we all know, I think the best to handle these type of questions is Igor, as he is the most knowledgeable kind of the SDK, though you can also reach out to Incubator so that they can help as well, and SendMike also, I think, able to handle a lot of issues. So yeah, I guess Incubator, Discord, sorry, as if you face some serious problems, maybe Igor can help, but I'm not sure we will have. So I really want to open that door. So Igor will get like 5 requests a day and he cannot move on with his own stuff. But we are, so yeah, I hope I gave some answer to this question.
Igor, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, generally, yes, correct. Me as a person, we want to talk about SDK, but also usually it happens via from Discord. Via Discord, people are writing their issues or requests. There is a special channel for that. It's called the Dash SDK in Dash Dev Discord. So, yeah, see you
Yeah,
there.
Dash Dev Discord. Sorry, yeah, that's the
Yeah,
name of it.
Dash
Dash Dev
yeah.
Discord.
Just make sure you guys tag him a lot with all the issues. Thank you.
Is DCG roadmap on the website up to date for delivery dates? You want to take it? It's a very hard problem because based on the current understanding, we could have updated like on a weekly basis. But
yes, it's not probably like so we don't, every time we update the roadmap, it takes 2-3 hours of discussions to put
yeah, a
them
fair
out.
amount of time to discuss and evaluate and have an agreement on what dates are we setting. The estimations we are using for the development are for tasks, so the current task, but even if we map out the dependencies between tasks, it's really hard to estimate the overall project, because there are dependencies, knowledge dependencies, task dependent on each other, like versioning, what Sam just mentioned. So it's really complex, and we are having real debates on it. But I'm torn and open to this discussion. So maybe we can have a discussion with the community. How should we handle and how should we update the roadmap? I'm super open to that, because that I think we are struggling with that. So to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, what I was talking about earlier is just like these debates take time, and then they make, so we want to find the right average
balance.
Balance. So I think we updated the roadmap about a month ago. Do we really want to update it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks? I don't think so. I think that we should look at the roadmap and update it every 2 months or a month and a half.
Thank you very much. Are we still hiring currently? No. Jim, yeah. Do you see any more questions? Running out of time.
No, I don't think so.
All right, then thank you everybody for joining and having this thriving discussion. It was a pleasure to have this discussion. Let's continue on Discord or on Twitter or on Reddit. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any further questions. All right, thanks everybody. Wish everybody a great day and see you in 2 weeks.